They say dogs are man's best friend, but in the days of Rome, dogs were man's most loyal weapon, creatures bred not for love, but for war. Imagine standing on a battlefield, the air thick with smoke and fear, and hearing a sound that freezes your blood. Not a horn, not a scream, but the deep, snarling growl of a beast rushing toward you. Wrapped in armor, eyes burning with firelight. These weren't myths. They were real, and they were terrifying. They say Rome was built by men, but it was protected by monsters. The Roman Empire didn't just conquer with swords, shields, and soldiers. They conquered with discipline, with fear, and sometimes with teeth. The Romans called them Canes Pugnaces, dogs of war. These were not your friendly house pets. They were massive, muscular beasts, ancestors of the Mastiff and Molossus, bred from ancient Greek war dogs and raised in the barracks alongside men. Their purpose was simple: to kill, intimidate, and destroy. Some wore leather armor studded with bronze spikes. Others had metal plates strapped to their chests. The richest generals even ordered their dogs fitted with flaming torches on their backs, so when they charged into the night, the battlefield would glow with the light of burning hounds tearing through enemy lines. Picture that. A wall of smoke, fire flickering, and a pack of armored dogs racing straight into the dark, barking, biting, dragging down soldiers who couldn't even scream fast enough. These dogs were trained to obey no one but their master. They marched beside Roman legions across deserts, mountains, and frozen rivers. They guarded camps, sniffed out ambushes, and when ordered, ripped through enemy ranks before the first arrow was ever fired. One historian wrote that their bite could break a man's arm through armor. Another described how enemy troops would rather face Roman cavalry than face the dogs. That's how terrifying they were. But Rome's power didn't just live in the battlefield. It lived in stories. And some of those stories were darker than any war. Soldiers began whispering that these beasts weren't entirely natural, that they could smell something human eyes couldn't see, fear itself. When the legions lined up before battle, commanders noticed something strange. If a soldier was trembling, even slightly, the war dogs would stare at him. Their ears would flatten. Their teeth would show. Some claimed the dogs would growl until the soldier broke formation and ran. So the generals began using them as a test of bravery, unleashing the dogs before battle to see who would stand and who would flee. Those who didn't run became legends. Those who did, well, some never made it out alive. And over time, the line between beast and ghost began to blur. When the Romans fought the Celts, they said the war dogs would howl before anyone saw them, long drawn-out cries that echoed through forests and valleys. Villagers began calling them the Hounds of Mars, the god of war. Others whispered they were cursed, that the souls of slain soldiers entered the dogs' bodies, giving them unnatural rage. Ancient tablets found near Capua describe rituals where handlers smeared blood on the dogs' muzzles before combat, believing it awakened the spirit of vengeance inside them. Some stories even claim that when a war dog's master was killed, the beast refused to eat or drink until it died beside the body, loyal even in death. Or maybe something darker held it there. One of the most chilling tales came from 101 BC, the Battle of Vercellae. The Romans faced a massive Germanic army, outnumbered, surrounded. So the commander, Marius, made a choice that would echo through history. He unleashed his war dogs. As the sun disappeared, thousands of dogs stormed the enemy lines, armor rattling, torches blazing, the night alive with fire and screaming. Soldiers swore they saw the dogs tear through shields, dragging men to the ground like wolves hunting prey. By dawn, the field was covered in bodies, and the dogs stood silent, blood on their armor, waiting for new orders that never came. After the battle, something strange happened. The survivors said they heard barking, but not from the living dogs. The sound came from the woods, deep, echoing, hollow. Patrols searched for days, but they never found anything. Still, every night, the barking returned. Locals began avoiding the area after sunset. Some said they saw eyes, glowing red, watching from the trees. Others heard heavy paw steps on the dirt roads, following them, just beyond the light of their torches. To this day, the Valley of Versailles is known by another name, the Field of the Hounds. And on quiet nights, travelers claim the air still carries the sound of chains dragging through the mist. As Rome began to crumble, so did its armies. And when the legions fell, so did their beasts. Some were killed by invading tribes. Others turned feral, roaming the forests of Italy, hunting livestock, and sometimes people. A few ancient letters mention villages wiped out by giant dogs that moved like shadows. Priests claimed they were demons left behind by the old gods, guardians of Rome that refused to die. But there's a darker theory. Historians believe that the war dogs didn't vanish. Their bloodline survived through centuries of breeding, crossbreeding, and survival. The English Mastiff, the Neapolitan Mastiff, even the Rottweiler, all trace their lineage back to the Roman Canes Pugnaces, meaning a piece of those beasts still walks among us. You could be walking your dog tonight, and maybe, just maybe, you're holding the leash of something once bred for war. The story of Rome's war dogs isn't just about blood and battle. It's about what happens when humanity takes loyalty and turns it into a weapon. These animals were born to love, to protect, to serve. But Rome twisted that love into something monstrous, something obedient, efficient, and deadly. And when you think about it, maybe that's the real horror. Not that the dogs were terrifying, but that we were. Because for all of Rome's power, glory, and conquest, it was built on the backs of creatures who had no choice but to obey. And that's a shadow that still follows us. Every time we choose control over compassion, they were called dogs of war. But in the end, they were just dogs. History's monsters aren't always the beasts. Sometimes they're the hands holding the leash.